Welcome 32 it, everybody. Another 2-round mock draft to kick off your weekend. This is Beyond the Tape presented by 32 Beat Writers. TJ Wingard here with you. And today, again, we have a very special guest. I am so pumped up. I've been following this guy on Twitter forever. And now we get to talk in person, or, so to speak. We get to talk and collaborate in a video here. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Fantasy Life's NFL Draft Analyst, Thor Nystrom. Thor, how's it going, man? Appreciate you taking some time.
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely, man. So we're going to run through the first round, and then I'm going to do a second round continuation of this mock draft. We're going to do something a little different for the viewer's sake. Most of the time I've been giving our guests the number one overall pick, but as we go ahead and just jump right into it, it feels like at this point, Thor, there's a consensus forming. Cam Ward is going to be the number one overall pick. So in today's video, I'm going to take the odds. We kick it off with Cam Ward going to Tennessee. It's clear they want a new signal caller underneath center, and I think it's going to be Cam Ward going number one overall. I also wanted to give you the evens because you are a Minnesota Vikings fan, so I cannot wait till we get to the 24th overall pick, and I want to see what you have in store there. But first, this is another reason I want to give you this pick. We kind of assume Cam Ward's going 1, so really the draft starts here at 2. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. What are you thinking the Cleveland Browns do here at number 2?
I'm going to go with Shadir Sanders. The Browns clearly have a quarterback plan. It's even been reported that they told Myles Garrett whatever that quarterback plan was prior to the signing of his contract extension. And I think that very well may be picking one with the second pick. Now, Kirk Cousins, that thing is obviously out there in the ether as well. Kirk Cousins was recently spotted at a Chipotle in the Cleveland area if we're hunting it down detective style. But I'm gonna give them Shadir Sanders, and they might go with Shadir Sanders even if they consummate a trade for Kirk Cousins.
100%. And really, you look at, even if they do bring in Kirk Cousins, him and Kenny Pickett, it's very similar to what the Giants are doing, right? Let's just get a couple guys just in case. And if we don't get our guy, then so be it. We'll be able to go into the year and have some decent in air quotes, play for a single year. So I'm actually really glad you did that because I am with you. I think they're going to ultimately take him. I think Kevin Stefanski's worked with skill sets like Sanders has and had great success. And also they got a dome coming in a few years. So, the weaker arm for Shadir Sanders, not that I think it's a complete liability, but it is probably, average to below average. That kind of gets minimized a little bit once you get inside, the dome and take away some of the elements there in Cleveland. And then ultimately, I think you're spot on with that too, because it kind of feels like the Giants have prepared themselves. They've kind of braced for this inevitability that Sanders goes number 2 overall. So I'm going to have Travis Hunter be the pick here at number 3 overall. They could use help at receiver. I know they brought, Darius Slayton in, and Malik Neighbors is a stud, and you got Wan'Dale Robinson. They also need help at corner, and they kind of get the perfect remedy here. On top of that, this is kind of tough for a draft analyst to talk about because who knows what goes on in the mind of a millionaire. But you got to think like John Mara's we lost Saquon. I need a guy to sell jerseys. I need someone to be the face of this franchise. If it's not a quarterback, let's go get Travis Hunter. So I'm going to go Hunter here at 3.
Yeah, I think that's right. And you have the GM and the coaching staff there that people were expecting to get fired this offseason that are on the hottest of seats heading into next year. And they took care of the quarterback position, at least in the short term, by signing Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. And Travis Hunter is one of the few prospects you can look at over the last 20 years where you can start to make an argument for him as a non-quarterback, qualitatively similar value to a quarterback, because you're knocking out your CB, you're getting your CB1 for the next decade. And then the situational receiver guy as well. I expect him to play between 40 to 50% of snaps on offense as a rookie. And what an incredible compliment he would be for Malik Neighbors. And it would be the first time the Giants have an interesting passing offense since Eli Manning retired.
And look, if it's Russell Wilson, Travis Hunter's got awesome ball skills. I just put out my receiver rankings. I don't know how many guys sub 6'1" I've seen with ball skills quite like Travis Hunter. And we know what Malik Neighbors can do stretching the field too. So in a lot of ways, those are two guys that kind of fit in with the moon ball way of life for Russell Wilson. And I'm with you, spot on there. And on top of, Joe Shane, Brian Dable. In a lot of ways, I was saying, they kept their job to go draft a guy. Maybe there's a world where these veterans get them to an improved record, let's just say in around 500. And maybe that's enough to lobby for a chance to draft a guy in 2026. We don't know really what that class is going to look like. It's always grass is greener on the other side when we're at this point of the year, but maybe that's just enough for them to fight for one more year. And then this is the dream scenario. If you're the New England Patriots and Abdul Carter falls into your lap, sprint the card in. I know they need help at offensive line. I know they need help at receiver. I think we can get a guy like maybe a Jaden Higgins top of the second round to help bolster that room. They did just bring in Stephon Diggs. So even if you want to go offensive line, maybe it's Ariante Ursary. I think there's going to be options for New England there at the top of the second round. Go best player available. I don't think Harold Landry stops you from taking Carter here at 4.
No. Yeah, and New England, they brought in so much help on the defensive front. They were either first or second in the NFL in free agency money spent.
Right.
But that being said, I mean, whether it's Carter, whether it's Travis Hunter, if the scenario is very easy, if you're a Patriots fan, what you're rooting for 2 quarterback picks in the 3 slots ahead of you, because then obviously you will be guaranteed either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, whoever it is. This is a quick card turn in. Or the only thing I would be entertaining here is if someone beneath you is offering a boatload to move up. But yeah, I mean, the Patriots, this would be an easy decision with Abdul Carter.
Yeah. Hey, look, if Dan Morgan from Carolina is like, hey, I'm willing to sell the farm to go get an Abdul Carter, hey, then I'll move back 4 spots and I'll take, Will Campbell, whoever you like there.
For sure.
I'd be willing to make that call. I think the other side of this trade coin that could break down for New England, I don't want to take the 24th pick away from Minnesota because you're here, but the Vikings only 4 picks in this draft. I think it makes a lot of sense for that team to flip spots, right? Minnesota trades back to New England. New England moves into the first round and takes Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly, whoever that, mid to late first round tackle of their preference might be. So I also wanted to throw that out as an option, but I give it to you, the Jags, right here at 5. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go here. It feels like it's maybe the chalkiest pick in the NFL mock draft cycle this year, but what do you want to do here with Jacksonville?
Well, I thought I had the evens, but I'm actually happy that you're giving me the floor here, because I'm actually going to advocate here for an outside the box pick.
Okay, let's go.
And this is not, I did not do this. I did chalk in the mock draft that I put out a day or two ago, but I spoke with, I guess we'll just call it an NFL source within the past couple of days. And that conversation led me to think about Jacksonville's situation different. The way, of course, I have been thinking about it, I think, is the way most people are thinking about it, of like, you went out and you added all these guys, but the one position you didn't touch was the interior defensive line, and you obviously have a need there. But the point that was made to me was, you released Evan Ingram, you got rid of Christian Kirk. Look at the dearth of offensive weapons there. Yes, I mean, you have Brian Thomas, but between the receiving core and include the tight end position in that, you don't have a ton there. This is obviously too soon, or at least I believe so, to take a wide receiver. Liam Cohen is the guy who is pulling the levers there. Liam Cohen, he wants a dude who can advance the ball. There is no better person fitting that description in this class, and perhaps in the last several, than Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren is the dark horse for this pick that people are not talking about enough.
All right. Tyler Warren's going to be the pick here at number 5. You are certainly shaking it up. And I like Brenton Strange, but when you compare grades, Brenton Strange, Tyler Warren, they're not necessarily close whatsoever. So
no, and you're gonna run your fair share of 12 personnel offense there, and those guys know each other's game because you have the Penn State connection as well, right? Like, but yeah, Warren is just your move piece. You're gonna move them all over the place. So play him in the slot, shift him into the backfield. You do some of the Wildcat stuff with him around the goal line that Penn State like to do, and he's working with his old buddy from Penn State. I don't know if they had any overlap, but it might have been the year that Strange was leaving was when Warren was coming in. But yeah, I mean, I think that would fit well. And again, a dude who's just going to advance the ball for you. Like, that's a guy that would greatly help Trevor Lawrence. Like, people forget this, but you go back to Trevor Lawrence's draft class that year in the lead up, the one quasi thing he got nitpicked for is very little. I mean, it was a lot of fawning for Trevor Lawrence. But if you were going to nitpick him, the thing people nitpicked was there was a lot of empty calorie manufactured stuff in that offense. And the guy they did it for was Amari Rodgers. Now, obviously, that was what it was. But if you got Trevor Lawrence, a good manufactured touch guy near the line of scrimmage that's going to help with that, that's also going to pull up the defense. You're going to get your manufactured yards for free. And then that is going to give you spacing down the field for Brian Thomas. And then you have the field stretcher on the other side and Gabe Davis. Yeah. You need to make defenses start to pick your poison again, right? And if you have a guy like Tyler Warren that we know anytime we get that guy the ball, it's 5 yards at least. It doesn't matter where we get him the ball. It doesn't matter where he's aligned. It's at least 5 yards, right? So like if you have that thing and now defense are like, we got to stop getting paper cut all game long. Now you take it out of the double high safety, you go to the single high safety. Now we got you because we got the two big perimeter receivers that can get downtown and win downtown. So I think this is a super sneaky one that makes a lot more sense than maybe people are giving credit for. And someone else had to explain this point of view to me. But after it was like, I'm seeing the vision there. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, you look at a lot of draft boards, there's plenty of boards out there with him being a top 5 player. So I don't think you're off there when it comes to a value standpoint. And also like De'Ami Brown, another free agent signing. So another field stretcher. Throw him in with Brian Thomas Jr. I'm a big Parker Washington believer. I also have him in Dynasty, so, call that bias. But Warren to be your underneath, middle of the field, a little bit of everything, to be honest. Washington working the underneath stuff. And then field stretchers and Brown, Davis, and Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, if you're Liam Cohen, huge smile on your face with this pick.
That's what it is. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, now he can start to do stuff. It feels like this – in some ways, it's a missing piece for your year one offense. This is the thing that you're missing. And yeah, I mean, with the cutting of Ingram, you really do need to get, a player sort of this ilk. And Warren, you're going to solve a lot of problems for that offense.
And look, if you're you're trying to find the breakout for Trevor Lawrence to steal, a point from a friend of the pod, Mike Renner. No coincidence that the best quarterbacks over the last 2.5 decades, Brady and Mahomes, they've had the 2 best tight ends of that time period, Gronk and Kelsey. So maybe Warren could be just that for Trevor Lawrence as you look to see him break out. I'll be quick here. I'm going to go Ashton Jeanty. I went back and forth with Ted McMillan. I do think there's, I've been playing around with like 2 different 3-round combinations in my mind for the Raiders. Is it Jeanty here and then receiver or corner at the top of the second, receiver at the top of the third? Maybe you could also go Tet here, one of those Ohio State running backs for Chip Kelly in the second, and then go, something else, a corner in the 3rd round, maybe Darian Porter's there. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go Ashton Jeanty here. This is Pete Carroll DNA. They have a good offensive line. So I think I'm not the world's biggest, proponent of running backs in the 1st round, let alone this early. But also Jeanty's pro day. I mean, good Lord, this guy looks like he's almost like a Terminator. So I'm going to go Jeanty here. I think it fits Pete Carroll and got a quarterback in their mid-30s. I think this kind of matches the identity and the timeline of what this team's at right now.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I do think that discussion probably in this scenario, it would come down to Jeanty or against McMillan. Yeah. But like based on both the history of Pete Carroll with Marshawn Lynch in Seattle, and then the procession of running backs that he had at USC, I mean, this is it's a part of his ethos. And then Chip Kelly loves running the ball. Right. Yeah. And you can give Ashton Jeanty 30 touches a game, as we found out the last couple of years. So
right against Penn State.
Exactly. Yeah. Just give him the ball every single time. So, yeah, I think both those guys are going to be pushing for it. And they obviously have quite a bit of sway in that room.
Totally. All right. What do you want to do with the Jets here at 7?
I'm between Mason Graham and then Mbu from Missouri. I'll go with Mason Graham here, though. Him falling down, we talked about how most of the mocks he's seen at number 5, but in a scenario like this where the Jaguars go a different direction, Mason Graham falls down to the Jets, and then you can put him next to Quinnen Williams. Obviously Javon Kinlaw left. If you're the Jets, you'd be thinking, between the offensive linemen. My situational assumption is Mbo would be the dude for that, and then Graham in this scenario if he falls here. But we'll go with Mason Graham in this one.
I'm with you in lockstride. If Graham's there, I think they're sprinting the card in. He's an awesome compliment next to Quinnen Williams. And that's a spot that's a little underrated as a team need for the Jets because Quinnen Williams exists. Yeah. But if he's not, I think Ahmad Mbu, I think that's going to be their guy for sure. And that just solidifies that offensive line. Run game heavy with Justin Field. I would love to see what they could do with that type of combination. For the Carolina Panthers, I'm going to go Jalen Walker here. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. I'd love to hear where you're at with Jalen Walker. He's a top 6 player on my board. I'm a big Jalen Walker fan. I know it's a little boom bust. You're going to need the right scheme. But we did see Ejiro Evero have a lot of success with Frankie Louvu. And I almost wonder if you just plug Jalen Walker in that exact role, get younger, cheaper. And, obviously we're a year removed from Louvu being in Carolina, but I almost wonder if he could just fill that role, be this agent of chaos for that Carolina defense. But I'd love to hear where you're at with Jalen Walker.
Well, first of all, I'm with you. I put G.I. Campbell in this slot when I did my mock a couple days ago, but this one works as well. They're just slightly different, but you have the same thing with both those guys of the outball linebacker guy that can come off the edge. But with Walker, yeah, it's like you're a little undersized, but I love him as the quarterback spy guy off ball. And then you have the sideline to sideline thing. He's obviously a freaky athlete. And then what we've seen with him off the edge when they did send him there, he can absolutely get after the quarterback. So Carolina, a team that last year had one of the worst defenses in NFL history, and you need help everywhere, but you got to fortify that front seven. And you're being helped by, for instance, Derek Brown coming back from injury. But, either of those two sort of chess piece versatile guys in, whether it be Walker, whether it be Campbell, I think would be a great fit.
I totally agree. All right. What are you thinking here? Saints at 9.
Saints at 9. In my past one, I had gone with Warren here, but the board kind of opens up for you if you're the Saints here. I'm going to go with Ted McMillan here, just because he falls down. The Saints, you're in it's bad in that you're capped out and you have holes everywhere. That's obvious why that's bad. But like on the good part of it, the board truly is open to you. It's not like you're, it's like, oh, this 2 or 3 positions, we have to get one of these guys, and you sort of have to be myopic. There's so many holes that you can just sort of go with BPA. Obviously, they hired an offensive leaning coach. I think he would like, someone who can really help that offense in year one. I think probably the Saints, if they had their druthers, they would prefer Tyler Warren. But with him being off the board here, we'll go with Ted McMillan.
And you know what, Thor? I think I might be the worst podcast host of all time. I think I was so excited to get Abdul Carter to New England, finally one of these mocks. I took an even pick from you, and now I gave you the odds there. So I'm going to give you back the evens. Tell me what you want to do here with Chicago. I think this is another team that's very interesting, especially with the board, how it's played out. G&T off the board, there's kind of 2 different directions you can go here. And I feel like whatever path you go down here with Chicago almost dictates where the draft goes from thereafter. So I give it to you here with the Bears back-to-back picks, 4th Thor.
Yeah, I think if Genty was here, I think this might be Genty. But with him not, in my opinion, you're down to the thing of, do you want to try to do the left tackle thing? It's the one spot they could still use on the offensive line, after they acquired the 3 interior guys. Obviously, you have Darnell Wright on the right side. Or do you want to go defensive front? I think it would be one or the other. The interesting thing here, or you could potentially even call it problematic, how do they see those top 3 tackles or top 2, however you want to see it? Can one of those guys go in at left tackle immediately? None of them are, like the best projection there. I mean, Mbao, he has, very similar measurables to Penei Sewell, but he was a right tackle his entire time at Missouri. Right. And I think most people would like to keep him at right tackle. Will Campbell has the reach issues, but so does Calvin Banks, right? So it's like, and then Darnell Wright, I don't think anyone wants to move him to left tackle.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So it's like, if you're going to use this pick on a tackle, he almost needs to be expected to start at left tackle immediately. But it's like all there's not the cleanest projections on those guys. So all that being said, I think I'm going to go with defensive front here.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart. This one would be the shoot the moon on the upside. This is a guy who had the pressure rate was there in college. This is a guy who was an elite recruit coming out of high school and tested like a banshee during the pre-draft process. And that was after he dominated at the Senior Bowl. I actually had the pleasure of reporting that Shamar Stewart was opting out of the last day of Senior Bowl practices because we left the media availability, and Shamar and his agent were walking right in front of us with the suitcase down the road, to their car. About that, I was Shamar, are you leaving? And he just smiled. He's like, you'll see tomorrow. And of course, he wasn't there the next day. But Shamar Stewart, incredible athlete. He's had an incredible pre-draft process. There's the thing with the sack production, and that's what he gets nitpicked for. Daniil Hunter, locally here, an example of a guy who did not have any sacks his last year at LSU. His draft stock got depressed because of that, and it obviously turned out that wasn't an issue. The guys who have the high pressure rates and they have the athletic profile, but for whatever reason the sacks aren't there their last couple of years of college, I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. I'm doing that with Shamar Stewart. If the Bears do it as well, he is absolutely in play here, so we're going to go with Shamar Stewart.
He's the number 10 player on my board, so you nailed the value in my eyes. And this is what I did last week in a mock with Dalton Wasserman from PFF. I think this, I mean, who knows? Maybe it was Mickey Loomis and maybe it's no Dennis Allen, but I have a hard time thinking Dennis Allen had no say in a lot of those toolsy, traitsy defensive linemen that were drafted during his time there in New Orleans. I got to think this is a dude that Dennis Allen would be pounding the table for. I don't think Dayo Odedingbo stops you from making this pick. I love this fit a ton. And that brings us to the San Francisco 49ers. This is another team I would love to see Shamar Stewart go to. Just Chris Karusic, a great defensive line coach. Get him that toolsy, traitsy guy. I think, oh, man, there's a couple of different names I could go with here. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go Will Campbell.
Okay.
You said it. He goes to the pro day, and now it's 33-inch arms, but his wingspan got an eighth of an inch shorter. Someone explain that to me. I don't know how that happens, but nevertheless, I do have him as a guard at this point. I think the wingspan is just prohibitive. But if you're telling me you get a left side of Trent Williams and Will Campbell, sign me up for that. He tested fantastic at the combine too, so I think he's a plug-and-play option there at left guard, and just keep a strength to strength right there in San Francisco.
Yeah, and I think offensive line is right there. You got some issues there, and obviously they've torn down some other aspects of their team, but that's a coaching staff that knows if you have a struggle bus offensive line, it doesn't matter how good of a play caller you are. Yeah. Right. And it doesn't really matter how good your skill guys are either. So they need to build back up that offensive line. It's an existential problem right now. So yeah, I definitely lean. It's not just one guy. They need multiple dudes to have a acceptable NFL offensive line next year. So I'm with you, man. I think this first pick is going to offensive line unless they make a swing for a skill guy, because they have some needs there. I've even heard that I don't know if you never know in draft season what's true or not. I heard that they might be interested in Genty as well. I don't think Genty's going to get to them, because at first I was like, with McCaffrey, but they do play that positionless football. Yeah. So theoretically you could, but I mean, barring that, really, this is the draft for them. You should just eat your vegetables. You sort of need to eat your vegetables, guys.
100%. And plus, if you're going to make Purdy a $60 million a year guy, let's make sure he can stay upright, right? So let's go ahead and get them that insurance policy in Campbell. Dallas, this is a fun team. I was, if it was you and Ted McMillan made it here, I think that's a great fit. But what are you thinking here for the Cowboys?
Yeah, this is an interesting one with McMillan off the board, with Genty off the board. This is the scenario of do the Cowboys reach up for a running back? I know that there's been some chatter about that. I think that would be a big mistake in this class that is so deep in running backs. I think this is way too soon to grab the second one. And then you badly need a guard there. Would Mbo, he played the 3 years at tackle. Would they do that? That seems weird to me as well. Let's see, edge, and then cornerback as well. So you have some of that stuff. I'm going to give them Will Johnson from Michigan, a guy who's been falling down boards a little bit, but I think the value would be really good here. And in lieu of being able to get one of those skill guys and put, in lieu of Will Campbell as well, I think it's a harder projection with Mbo. I think he would be able to handle it, but just because that's all he played in the SEC, I'd rather keep him at right tackle in the NFL. So I think Will Johnson, with the way that the board's fallen for Dallas.
Yeah, and honestly, if you went Mbo there, I'd almost just say, could Terrence Steele slide inside? Or is it ultimately just a pathway to move on from that contract that I think they're regretting right about now? But Will Johnson's a fun one too. Can we move Deron Bland back in the nickel? And then it's a trio of Diggs, Johnson, Bland. I mean, good Lord.
Pretty good.
That's a nasty trio. I would love to see that. Miami Dolphins here. You could go Mbo. I got a higher grade on Armand Membu than Kelvin Banks, just slightly. I still have my affinity for Kelvin Banks, but I'm going to go Armand Membu there. Whether it's right guard or right tackle, we'll figure that out. I also think Austin Jackson could slide inside, and I think that'd be just fine. Offensive line, at the end of the day, I think is a huge need here for Miami. We've seen it kind of cripple that offense from time to time. That plus, concussions for Tua. So you can't control the concussions, but you can control the 5 you put on the offensive line. I'm going to go with it. Membu.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes a lot of sense with the needs that they have. I think it'd be between that probably and a safety. But yeah, if he gets down there, I think that absolutely could be the pick.
I also think like Walter Nolan's kind of a fun guy. Like, could you get that Christian Wilkins replacement a year late? I think that could be a fun fit too.
For sure.
But what do you want to do here with the Colts at 14?
It's probably the easiest pick in this thing so far. If Tyler Warren's here, they're going to take Tyler Warren. If Tyler Warren's not here, but Colson Loveland is, they're going to take Colson Loveland. This is a quick card turn in. Colson Loveland, come on down.
And dude, when you have, quarterback inaccuracies, let's put it politely here with Anthony Richardson, why don't we go get him a silky smooth tight end who's 6'6"? I think that could help alleviate some of those issues, but it's just one more playmaker, and you're basically taking the excuse out and away from whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. We'll see how that plays out throughout the course of the season, but no excuses. 3 good receivers. Honestly, throw a fourth in there if you still like Alec Pierce / AD Mitchell, whoever you want as that field stretcher. Throw Colson Love in the mix. I mean, that's a loaded offense for Shane Steichen.
1,000%. Yeah, it's what they need. It was what they explicitly stated publicly at the beginning of the offseason. This is our biggest need. And they haven't addressed it yet. I mean, they are giving you the blaring sign of what they're going to do with their first pick. They just need to cross their fingers that one of them 2 guys gets to them. I think it's a pipe dream to expect Warren to at this point.
Right.
But you got a decent chance of Loveland being here. So like I said, I think that'd be a quick decision.
Yeah, and I'm going to be pretty quick here with the Falcons. I did this last week, and I hate to do it, but as much as Atlanta round 1 edge, I totally get it. We want to go that direction. I think there's some second-round guys like Braden Swinson if he makes it there. And you partner that up with a first-round pick like Jahdae Barron and a zone-heavy defense. He was the best graded corner last year per PFF in zone coverage. I think he's a fantastic fit on the back end for Raheem Morris's defense. Partner him up with A.J. Terrell. Go get that second-round edge. And honestly, I think you can even, whether it's Braden Swinson, who's not great against the run. If you really like Josiah Stewart, he's not great against the run. But just go out there and get a killer off the edge in the second round. Deal with some of those limitations. I think that's ultimately one of the best ways you can round out that defense with its main needs.
Yeah, I like that one. And I think like throughout the process, I like Barron more than others. Like I really like Barron. Like Barron, he reminds me so much. Remember a couple years ago, Devin Witherspoon coming out of Illinois, and Witherspoon was getting nitpicked for the exact same things, and people were sleeping on him all the way up to like a couple of weeks before the draft, like a couple of weeks from now. And then all of a sudden it's like, you start whispering about it, like Witherspoon's moving up the board. It's like, he was probably always, in the NFL viewed like that, but it was like, folks in the industry a little bit late to it, but yeah, he ended up going, where he should have gone. And Barron in the same way, he's just a tone setter. He's crazy instinctive, gets nitpicked a little bit for the size and then being the zone guy, but you can play him anywhere and he can do anything. Right? Like, I mean, the deep safety, the nickel, the boundary guy. You can even have him be a friggin' box linebacker when you go into dime. Like, I mean, they literally did everything with him. And you saw specialized usage with Barron last year at Texas that you never see with CB1s. College teams don't move CB1s around like Texas did. And it just shows you how much they trusted him and how much it was like, yeah, you're our CB1 guy, but we also need you to erase one matchup for the offense every single play. So we're still going to move you all over the place. So I'm down with this from a value perspective. And
you know what? It's funny you mentioned Devin Witherspoon because that was like the most that is not a Pete Carroll corner. One, the value where they took him, and then also the size. Especially if I had really thought about me stealing that even pick, I really thought about it to the Raiders at 6. Like I really wouldn't rule that out. That could be that Witherspoon type pick. The other thing I love about Barron, and honestly, I'm a sucker for a nickel. I think in 5 years, we're going to be talking about that as like the pivotal point of an NFL defense. So I don't really even worry about the sub 30-inch arms. I think it'd be fine if you play him in the nickel. He's kind of got this Mike Hilton quality. He's a good tackler. Use him as a blitzer. You name it, Jahdae Barron brings to the table.
For sure.
All right. You're up on the clock with the Cardinals here at 16.
I'm gonna follow the breadcrumbs on this one, and I'm going to take Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, who would be reunited with his collegiate offensive line coach and be playing across from a guy he used to play across from in Paris Johnson. The Cardinals, you have to put it as kindly as possible, a mediocre starting right tackle right now. Some people might be less kind than that. And that dude is on the last year of his contract. Jonah Williams, Josh Simmons, he's coming off the injury, but between having Jonah Williams there for the one more year, I think you can drive that, and then you have your bookend tackles for years, and obviously working for a guy that knows them well.
And also, Josh Simmons, before he got to Ohio State, played right tackle at San Diego State. So he has familiarity playing on that side of the line. You give him a year to rehab from the injury, I think you're spot on there. And I seriously wouldn't doubt it. It's going to be either Donovan Jackson or Josh Simmons. One of these two Ohio State offensive linemen is going to be playing Arizona next year. I'm with you 100% there. Cincinnati Bengals. Well, Jermaine Pratt sounds like he's not going to be long for Cincinnati. So Jahad Campbell's kind of an interesting guy here. They just need defensive line help in the baddest way. I think they're going to keep Hendrickson. That kind of feels like where they're going right now. It kind of comes down to Kenneth Grant. Reuniting him with Chris Jenkins would be a lot of fun and shore up that run defense. Or you go Mike Green here. This is a tough one. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to go Kenneth Grant here. Partner him up with Chris Jenkins. Shore up the middle of that defense. And if you do move on from Jermaine Pratt, let's keep that second level clean. And then Grant's kind of an interesting prospect. He runs hot and cold as a pass rusher. But, man, if you could get that Ohio State version or Ohio State game version of Kenneth Grant, you might have an absolute steal here at 17. So I'm going to go with Grant here to the Bengals.
Love that. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
All right. What do you want to do here with Seattle?
I'm going to go with Matthew Golden because Matthew Golden can play on the boundary. And with the Seahawks, the way they've reconstituted that receiver room, right now you have Jackson Smith and Jig, but you have Cooper Kupp, both natural slots. Obviously, one of them is going to have to play on the perimeter. Even though it'd be fun, the thing you can't do is take it, like, for instance, an Egbuka. It'd be fun to reunite him with JSM, but now your offense is 3 slots. Golden, again, dude that can play on the perimeter. He's a little bit smaller for a boundary receiver, but this is the same argument I made for Zay Flowers when he was coming out. It's a guy who wins downfield. I saw it over and over and over again. So I don't care. He can absolutely play. Golden can also play in the slot, and for this team, he will not need to. You're a boundary receiver. We'll send Golden there.
Yeah, and I think I don't think he plays 4.29, but for the sake of argument, he ran a 4.29. That type of field stretching ability is how you open up the middle of the field underneath stuff for JSN and Cooper Kupp. So no, I really like that fit. I have him a little bit lower on my board compared to guys like Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka. He's my receiver 5. But for this fit for Seattle, I think you're spot on there. Oh, Tampa Bay, Jahad Campbell. I can't let him get any past this. I think he is a Bucs fit through and through. Todd Bowles has got to reinforce that front 7, place him off by linebacker, use him as an edge rusher. I kind of one size fits all here for their needs there in the front 7 in Tampa.
I like that. Yeah. A guy who plugs the off-ball linebacker hole for you, but also is going to help the pass rush, which was abysmal last year.
And getting to work with Hassan Reddick, I mean, what better guy to help you walk that line too? Guy who miscast as an off-ball linebacker. So I think it's a great fit there. All right, Broncos here at 20. This is a fun team. This has been almost one of the teams of the offseason, right? The Joker. Can we get this team a Joker? Or what do you want to do here with Denver?
This is another one that I feel like is a free spot if this scenario happens. If Omarion Hampton gets here, this is going to be a quick card turn in. And so that's what happened. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think you go Hampton here at 20 or Henderson there at 52. It's going to be one of those two guys. And ultimately, it's just going to come down to what are you hearing around the league? Does Henderson make it to 52? He might not, to be honest with you. So
I don't think
why even risk it? Just go ahead and take Hampton. And also, Sean Payton loves running backs who can pass protect. And I think Hampton, him, Taj Brooks, Travion Henderson, those are your 3 best pass protectors in the eyes of the class. So if Henderson's not there at 52, why risk it? Take Hampton here at 20. And it's also a deep IDL class. They do have some guys hitting the market, hitting the free agent market that is next year. So if you can't get Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant here, maybe it's TJ Sanders or someone like that in the second round for the Broncos. All right. Thor, I'm a Steelers fan, so I do this with great reluctance. Dart's my quarterback 4, but he's player 77 on my board. I'd feel much more comfortable taking him day 2. But I think the Steelers are going to sign Rodgers, and then Dart's going to be QB3 for that first year. They're going to allow him to get a learning curve. Obviously, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience playing under center. That is a big component of the Arthur Smith offense. So I almost just think they're going to draft him here at 21, give him a redshirt year behind Rodgers and Rudolph, and then we'll see. Maybe they get a second year out of Rodgers. It's another redshirt year. But I don't love this, but I do kind of feel like this is the direction Pittsburgh kind of working in. So I'm going to go Jackson Dart reluctantly here at 21.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Dart is going to be like top half of the second round kind of guy on my board. Yeah. But I've said this before. I mean it. If he goes at the end of the first round, I'm not going to argue with that at all. I will argue if he goes in the top half of the first round. I just feel like that is too aggressive, but there's obviously the inflation with the cost of the assets at that position. And Jackson Dart, it's one that he's one of the hardest evals because he has all the physical ability. He put up the bazooka stats. He's experienced. He got on the field as a true freshman at USC. I think he started 3 games that year, and then obviously at Ole Miss. But there's just a black box in his evaluation that it's just going to remain that until we see him in the NFL. And there was so many pre-snap reads and so much locking in on the first read, but that's a part of that scheme. So what is the decision making after the snap when the bullets are flying?
Yeah,
we don't know. We literally don't know. But like everything else, like just on paper of this evaluation, it screams top 10 pick. Yeah. But then this one black box, it's like, so like, I'm not saying that I know. I don't think you can know. To me, the way that you do an evaluation like this, you're basically splitting the middle. And that's why I'm going to have him high second round. But again, late first round, if he gets taken there, no issues with that. And if you hit on this one, if it turns out that kid can read after the snap, you're going to get a guy who should have been a top 10 pick late in the first round.
And that's where, if he is the guy who's QB3 in Pittsburgh, learning from Rodgers, maybe I can kind of change my tune on this. Or really, I got to give credit to Matt Miller. I haven't thought about this, but if the Rams draft him at 26 and give him a redshirt year behind Matt Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo, sign me up for that. That, and then also just like, hey, who can make playing quarterback a little bit easier? Sean McVay. So like that would be the one spot where I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with him going round 1 if it's to LA.
1,000%. Yeah, I mean that would be a fun one too. And yeah, we don't know how much the longer Stafford has, but there doesn't. Yeah, I mean it could be any year
forever.
Exactly.
All right, Chargers on the clock at 22.
This is you took my favorite pick for them, which is Kenneth Grant, and then my second favorite one. I sniped myself on that one is Loveland. I love getting the Michigan guys over there.
Sure.
This is the way the board falls that the Chargers would hate, because I think the other dude that they would take if he's here is Hampton.
Yeah, but, I totally agree.
Yeah, but like all their primary, like this is the nightmare scenario. This would be the one scenario I think where LA is working the phones and we are very interested in moving back. In this scenario, I don't think that they would want to be stuck here because basically your thought I don't think they're going to take a receiver no matter what. I mean, it's just not Harbaugh's ethos like this early. So with the interior defensive line thing, you want to go Harmon, you want to go Nolan. I don't think they would love that obviously as much as Grant. You can't take another tight end here. I don't think you can take another running back here. I really don't. I know that Jim loves his running backs. I don't think you can. Would they then go edge? I mean, like that's.
Could they also do we want to do that New England trade? We could have New England fly up from 38, go draft an offensive tackle. If you're saying they're going to work the phones in this case, I could totally. It's Joe Ortiz from Baltimore. Accumulate picks, move back. We could do that here if you're open to it.
Let me see. I have a little. I have a trade chart that of my own making, and a little gizmo in here that I come up with the value of trade. So I like to make sure that my mock trades are jived. So just give me 1 second and I'll tell you what this would cost.
Maybe 38 and 77. You got it in third.
It's 38.69, and then New England needs to give a little bit more. But the 77 is a little too much. Let's see, 105 probably gets us there. Yeah, that's what it is. So it'd be 38.69 and 105 for 22.
Do you think New England does that? They still got a lot of holes to address. So it just comes down to how bad you want that offensive tackle.
That's a tough. What do you think?
I would almost lean towards no.
Okay.
If it was just 38.69, I think they could do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd give up 106 as well, but you still have 77. You go get a tackle, then receiver at 77, or maybe you hope Stephon Diggs is your kind of cure-all there. Hope Javon Baker. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to throw him at 106, and then just for the sake of balancing the scales a little bit, I'll have the Chargers send back 209. To give New England a pick and kind of scratch that itch. And then what offensive tackle do you think New England likes here? If they're moving up to 22, or do they get the receiver? Maybe that's in mind.
I think offensive tackle. And for me, I like Kelvin Banks too. I'm a big fan of Kelvin Banks. So yeah, like in fact, I think I like Kelvin Banks more than Will Campbell. I know that's kind of a scandalous take, but I like him as a player more. So I'll say Kelvin Banks.
And man, if you showed a Patriots fan this mock 7 months ago, you get Abdul Carter and Kelvin Banks. Oh my God, I think their hair would instantly light on fire just from pure excitement.
Backflips.
Yeah, and 100%. And then let's just say that this new coaching staff gets a little bit more out of Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, because all of a sudden that plus Stephon Diggs, that might look okay. Plus you got Pop Douglas, who's a good football player there too. So I like it. And like we said with the Chargers, if you don't love your options, move back. That's totally a Joe Ortiz type of play.
Yeah, for sure.
Green Bay Packers. This is a tricky one here. I kind of feel like Donovan Ezra-Who's their type of guy. Walter Nolan kind of fits what their interior defensive line desires. But you know what? I think I might go back-to-back offensive tackles here. I could totally see a world where they're looking to improve upon Rasheed Walker. I'm going to go Josh Connerly Jr. I still like Josh Connerly Jr. I'm not ready to – I kind of feel like the media soured on him. I thought he had a good Senior Bowl minus the 1 rep at right tackle where he got blown up by Mike Green. I had one there too. So, maybe I'm a little biased here, but I think he's a 21-year-old that's starting to have the light bulb flip. He mentioned to us, it kind of just clicked for me. Hand and feet coordinated movements. It all just started to make sense for me. And if this guy's 21 and starting to make those adjustments and starting to figure it out, experience in zone, experience in gap, good mover, I think this could be your upgrade over Rasheed Walker and then really solidify that offensive line. I know they've done some stuff this offseason. I know they brought in some guys, but I still don't know if they have a true great left tackle on there. So I'm going to go Josh Connerly Jr. here.
I like it. Yeah. I'm down. I agree with everything you said.
And they're not going to go receiver first round. So Packers fans, don't blame me. Blame their ownership / their GM / their way of doing things. But here we go. This is the moment I've been looking forward to. Thor, what are we thinking here with the Vikings?
Well, your primary positions in need, it would be an interior defensive lineman who essentially initially would be the backup for all three positions, be a heavily used rotational guy because they signed the 2 other interior defensive linemen to play next to Harrison Phillips. So, theoretically, you're 3-4, you do have that front set, but Flores loves to do the rotational thing. So it would be a used guy year one. That's one option. Left guard is another big one. Right now, Brendel is the projected starter there. You could do better than that. In this case, that would be Gray Zabel. The offense for the defensive line in this scenario, it'd be either Nolan or Harmon. I hear that the Vikings really like Harmon, so like that's probably who I'd lean as far as the interior defensive line. But this scenario is interesting because the other need is in the secondary, both potentially an immediate start cornerback. It's not going to be this scenario though. Jahdae Barron's the guy that I would be looking at for that potential. If Will Johnson falls here, that would be in play too. But this scenario is sort of unique because in almost all the other ones, you have at least one safety off the board, and there's no safeties off the board right here. Harrison Smith is coming back for one more year. It will probably be his last one. And Brian Flores loves his safety play about as much as anybody. I'm going to go with Nick Manwari here. Nick Manwari is a physical freak. Everybody knows that, 6'3", 220, and he had the freakish combine testing. But I don't think people realize what, it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So he tested like a freak. He's an awesome player. He was a first-team All-American last year at South Carolina. This kid can play, and just a freakish athlete. The versatility Flores can do is shifting around kind of stuff with him. I'm going to go with Manwari here.
Man, I thought you were going to go Starks there. You fooled me. Yeah, I'm a little bit cooler on Manwari. But you can't tell me he's not a super soldier. Like, this guy pumped that serum into his veins. 6'3", 220, running sub 4.4. I mean, this guy is an alien. And one of the places he could go, because him and Jalen Walker to me are just boom bust. It's going to take the right DC. Holy cow. Him and Flores defense, that's the right DC. So I'm totally on board for it. I think him and Starks, they both make a whole lot of sense there. Houston Texans. Oh, man. I've been looking to go interior defensive line for this team for so long. I do think they can do that in the second round. I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka. I have Burden ranked a little bit higher, but the built-in chemistry there with CJ Stroud is too good for me to pass. Inside-out flexibility. We don't know what Tank Dell is going to be, which sucks to say because # fun to watch. Like, Tank Dell epitomizes that. But I'm going to go Igbokwe here just as an insurance policy, give some Nico Collins reinforcements there.
I love it. Yeah. And I like the Ohio State connection there. You get your baby blanket back. So yeah, I'm a fan of that one.
All right. Los Angeles Rams. What are we thinking here at 26?
So in my mocks, every single time I give the Texans Gray Zabel, just because the interior offensive line there and they need a couple, but him being here for the Rams, I might be leaning that direction. Zabel, he would be a guy who could help you. Well, I mean, initially you could either try to get him to start on the interior, but the long-term play would be you're taking over for Havenstein after next year, right? They re-signed the left tackle, Alaric Jackson. Havenstein is back for one more year. Havenstein's going to be gone after that. So yeah, let's give him Gray Zabel. I think this is good value here. And if nothing else in year one, he greatly helps your depth there if he doesn't steal one of the interior starting spots. But like I said, long term, you found your long term right tackle.
That's interesting. I have not heard anybody plead the case for him at tackle, but giving him time, I think that could work out. So I actually like that a good bit. And also, even if it's not that, I still think center, like Bo Limmer was fine for a 6th rounder, but if you have to add that caveat, and then Coleman Shelton, who they brought in, that's the guy that every Chicago Bears fan was looking to kick to the curb. So I also think there's a world where he could just be like an ass kicker at center for this team. So really, it's kind of who's your best 5 and where does Gray Zabel kind of fit in the mix? He can kind of spread the sugar.
For sure. And Limmer can play guard as well. He did at the beginning of his career at Arkansas. So he's got that versatility on the interior. Zabel, in my opinion, has close to 5 position versatility. I mean, maybe you'd say 4, maybe you don't want to put him at left tackle in the NFL, but you would have a lot of versatility there. So you're covered injury anywhere.
Awesome. Let's get to the Baltimore Ravens. I've been looking to make this pick for a long time. I'm going to go Malachi Starks here. Marcus Williams just was not it at free safety. And I love Kyle Hamilton as a slot player, Notre Dame fan here. So a little bit of bias, but I also think that allows you to move Marlon Humphrey outside. That kind of fills the void left by Brandon Stevens. He wasn't that great last year anyways, but I think this is kind of how you reconfigure that secondary to make it all kind of fit seamlessly. So I'm going to go Malachi Starks to be that new free safety in Baltimore.
I love that. Yeah, I that's a good pick.
All right, Detroit Lions here at 28. What are we thinking? A lot of edge rushers on the board. I got a feeling you might be leaning that way.
We were going at the edge rusher. This would be the Detroit would love this. They desperately need a dude that can step in immediately at the edge, right? Like right now, if I'm remembering this correctly, it's your edge depth chart. It's Aiden Hutchinson coming off the injury, and then it's Marcus Davenport, who will probably get injured in the next 5 minutes. Right, like
so, yes,
yeah, and as a Viking fan who once upon a time dreamed on Marcus Davenport, and then we got the experience that every fan base gets with Marcus Davenport. They need another starting edge really bad. Mike Green felt down here. This feels like Mike Green time. I imagine he probably goes higher in the draft, but someone's going to get pushed down. It happens every single year, right? Like, and by the way, it would make sense if Mike Green, if he was the dude who gets pushed, it's a guy right now being projected more middle of the first round. There are some questions with Mike Green that center around the reason that he left Virginia, and some teams and some like overall are comfortable. Some teams maybe not quite as much, and then of course you have factions in the rooms that. I think that there's something there, something not there. But for that reason, when teams are on the clock, this is how you lose tiebreakers, right? Like to some other dude, these guys are pretty close on our board, but right. And so that's how a dude that should go higher ends up filtering down. It's a perfect position for the Lions.
Yeah. And I thought about going Green at 17 for the Bengals, but then I do wonder if it's different off the field issues and different personality quirks, but I do wonder if the Bengals are like, dude, Jermaine Burton this is not going to work. So I almost wonder if they're like, give me the squeaky clean guy. Just give me someone with no character issues. I'm over this. So I do wonder if that could be the kind of type, like you said, tiebreaker. Commanders here at 29. Oh, it's going to be kind of hard for me to pass on Pierce or Ezeraku here. Burton's kind of tempting though. Just to give him one more guy in that Cliff Kingsbury offense. Let him learn from Debo. That could be fun. But Pierce or Ezeraku, man. What do I want to do here?
Or Michael Williams still out there too.
Oh, you know what?
They got some good edges out there.
let's go Michael Williams. I kind of feel like he might be a little bit more of a Dan Quinn guy. And also,
I think that's right too.
Yeah.
Like Washington, like I go on the Washington radio sometime, and like every time we talk about edge, because they'll ask about edge right away every single time, and then whoever you're talking, they always make the point of, is it a two-way edge? Because we need a two-way edge. Like they're always saying the two edge. And like Pierce, I love Pierce as a pass rusher. Like Pierce reminds me so much of Brian Burns, but he's a one-trick pony, right? Sure. Like you do not want Pierce on the field most times for the pure running down. And so like if you want the two-way guy, that's Williams. If you're at Georgia and you don't keep the gap integrity and you don't do the edge, right, hold the edge there, you're not going to be on the field. That's why Travon Walker's counting stats were down when, there was that whole discussion a couple of years ago and some of these other guys. But I think Williams would be a really good fit for what they need and for the scheme that he would be entering here. All
right. What are you thinking here for the Buffalo Bills at 30?
Man, are we going to get an edge run here?
Yeah, I think we're about to get a pretty mean edge run.
Yeah, I think that's where the value is. And heck, we were talking about him, so just have the music keep playing. We'll pop James Pierce here.
There you go.
I do think that James Pierce should go higher because his one trick is one of the more valuable things in the NFL. It's being a hindrance to passing games. They're a pest to the passing game or whatever. Like, so huge value to that. But, some people, it's not that he has character issue, but it's one of those, he's a different kind of a kid, which you could see at the combine when he runs his 40 in a friggin' hoodie. He's the only dude I've ever seen who ran with it. Now it was the performance hoodie or whatever, but right. Like I found it hilarious afterwards. They asked him like, James, why did you run in the hoodie? And he's like, oh, it's just, I showed up here and then I had the sweatshirt over it and then I took it off and then, I thought they were going to give me something else, but there was nothing else. So I had to wait. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that the people at Tennessee, it's like, sure. James, come on, man. But when you get him on the field, it's that speed rushing and the first step and the propulsion and the bend around there. Like, he's going to get after quarterbacks for you from day one.
And hey, if you run a 4.4 in a hoodie, let's see what it looks like without the hoodie.
Right? Exactly.
Ooh, Kansas City Chiefs here, man. I don't know if I'm fully ready to give up on FAU, but I do like Ezraku as a prospect more than him, so I am kind of tempted by that. But what I think I'm going to do here is go Walter Nolan. Him next to Chris Jones would just be,
that'd be fun.
Awesome. So I'm going to go Walter Nolan there. And also, I'm just, let me just double check my big board. But he's in the top 15. I'm a big Walter Nolan guy, so I can't let him get out of the first round. Also, I can't let him get to Philadelphia. I can't put that burden on the NFL.
No, I like that. That's good. I like that.
All right, round out this first round, Thor. Where do you want to go here with the Eagles? Honestly, I think Ezraku, Burden, Harmon, these top three guys that I'm looking on the PFF sim, like slam dunk fits there for Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's kind of what that's where I'm at. Or Booker, I think would be another.
Booker's a fun one too.
Yeah, and Howie, he loves to take the Georgia defenders and then the Alabama offensive guys, so he would keep with that ethos. He's probably either Starks or Booker. Burden would be fun. Burden would be fun. Burden has to go to a team with good boundary receivers because that's what opens the spacing for him.
And here it is,
This would do it. Hell, let's go with Burden. I haven't done that one yet in a mock. Like I think that'd be a good one.
And also, it's just becoming too much of a trend, him getting out of the first round. I get it. 2024 wasn't as good as 23, but just hypothetically speaking, flip those 2 years. What's the narrative on Luther Burden? I'd be very, very curious to what that would look like. Well, Thor, man, it has been an absolute pleasure getting you on here, man. Where can the people find your work?
You can find me on Twitter at ThorKU and my NFL draft work at Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life.
Awesome, Thor. I know you got to bounce. You're a busy man, so I appreciate you carving out some time. We're going to take a second, pay some bills, and when we come back, I'm going to continue the second round of this mock draft. Thor, thank you again for coming on, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now, so why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite player profiler host's promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
And we are back. Let's jump right back into this mock draft. So I'm going to flash up your picks so we can remember where all these teams are at. The Cleveland Browns, we pick them up. Shedeur Sanders, the pick at number 2 overall. Where do we want to go here? I think Nick Scorton. I'm just going to double check Cleveland's edge position, but I think they could still use another guy opposite of Myles Garrett. Isaiah McGuire, toolsy, traitsy guy. Shout out to my guy Alex from Hail Mary Sports, but I'm going to go with Nick Scorton here, man. I think that could be a really fun fit. I do think stand-up edge rusher might be a little bit more ideal for him, but a little bit more hand in the dirt there for that defense there in Cleveland. Then we get to the Giants. We took Travis Hunter. It kind of sucks that we got Jackson Dart off the board. I do wonder if that could be the developmental guy for them. I'm a Tyler Shough guy, so I'm going to go Tyler Shough here. Like we said earlier, this is a regime that needs to win quickly. And I do think Tyler Shough has that capability. And maybe it's just the number 9, but I do almost see a little bit of Matt Stafford, the arm angles, good arm, one of the better arms in this class. There's a little bit of Carson Palmer in there as well. Posted a really good time in the 40. Overall, really got a really good combine for Tyler Shough. I know I'm higher on him than a lot of people. He's my QB3, but I do wonder a room of, Jameis Winston's making $4 million a year. He's a backup, but Russell Wilson, Tyler Shough, I think that's a really solid quarterback situation there for, again, Brian Dable needs to win. Joe Shea needs to see this team get some W's. And if they can also attach themselves to a rookie quarterback, that might give them a little bit more of a lifeline for years to come. Tennessee Titans, they moved on from Harold Landry, so I'm going to go Donovan Ezeraku here. Him plus Cam Ward, that would be a slam dunk 1-2 combo there for the Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville Jaguars, they go Tyler Warren, so this is real easy. Derek Harmon staring you straight in the face. We didn't go Mason Graham. Let's go give him the best defensive interior on the board, and to me, that is Derek Harmon, just ever so slightly over Darius Alexander. Like I said, if I didn't realize that I had accidentally taken the even pick here from Thor with the Raiders, I probably would have gone Jahdae Barron, and I think I might do that for a future mock. Just, something out there I don't think a lot of people are talking about. But instead, with the corner still on the board, we got a good corner crop. Trey Amos is a guy that I still really, really like. So I'm going to go Trey Amos here. He was a good interview at the Senior Bowl as well. So I like him too. I think he's getting better in zone coverage, which I think also will help Patrick Graham. He kind of mixes it up at a high level there on the defensive side in that Vegas defense. So I think he's starting to become a guy that can be versatile for Patrick Graham. All right, that's right. We had the Chargers move back. Whew, tricky spot we put ourselves in for the Chargers. Ooh, Tyreek Williams. I like TJ Sanders a little bit more. Darius Alexander's my IDL 5, but I do wonder if Tyreek's just that Poona Ford replacement that they'd be looking for. So I'm going to go Tyreek there at pick number 38. We get to the Chicago Bears. I don't think the Saints are going to go draft running back at 40, so I'm going to pass on running back just a little bit longer. Shamar Stewart. Where do we want to go? You could go Ariante Ursary here. I think that's kind of a fun fit for that defense. Or excuse me, for that offensive line. That could be your left tackle in the making. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back on my word. I need a little bit more time to think about it. I'm going to go with my RB3, Quinshad Judkins. I think he could be kind of the bell cow moving forward for Ben Johnson in that Chicago offense. Saints, we went Ted McMillan. I think this is Darius Alexander if he gets to them then. Flexible defensive lineman, move him up and down the D-line, play all 4 spots at the Senior Bowl, kicked ass at all 4 spots, quick hands, quick feet. I don't know how you don't get excited about that if you're a Saints fan. Bears here at 41. Yeah, what do I want to do with Chicago? I know we went Shamar Stewart, and he's got defensive line flexibility, but Grady Jarrett's a 1-year deal. I'm going to go TJ Sanders. We're going to really bolster up this team in the trenches there. So TJ Sanders is the pick at 41. Jets, we went Mason Graham. What do we want to do here for the Jets? Ooh, could this be a Jaden Higgins spot? Could this be Jaden Higgins' compliment for Garrett Wilson? I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go Jaden Higgins there in the second round. I think Dalton Wasserman, actually, we had him on the show last week. Go back, check out that mock draft if you haven't already. I think he was kind of talking about this on the PFF College show as a really nice Jets second round option. And lucky enough for his Jets, he made it to this pick. 49ers, we went with Will Campbell, given some interior offensive line reinforcements. Do you think corner could be something that's in play here? I also think defensive line. Yeah, I almost think, do we want to go edge or defensive interior? This has been another one where if TJ Sanders made it here, that'd be a whole lot of fun. I think it's a little early for some of these guys. Alfred Collins is a fun one. Alfred Collins is another really good idea there for the Jets there at 42. He could be that kind of John Franklin Myers replacement. As I say that, maybe we'll take him here at 51. What to do with the San Francisco 49ers? Princely Uman-Mielen? Let's go Princely Uman-Mielen. I think that's a really fun. Actually, or Braden Swinson. Swinson or Uman-Mielen. I'm going to go Swinson, actually. Got him ranked just ever so slightly higher than Uman-Mielen. They're just one spot removed, but I'm going to stick to my board. I'm going to go Braden Swinson. I think that'd be a really fun ad opposite of Nick Bosa. Dallas Cowboys, we went Will Johnson. That's right. I do think interior offensive line is a place to go. And Tyler Booker, I know you got Tyler Smith there at left guard. So we are asking Booker to flip over to the other side, but I think it's going to be just fine. Actually, now I think about it, Schottenheimer, that's a mostly zone offense. So I kind of don't love that fit. Ooh, Donovan Jackson's fun. I'm still going to go Booker here. We're just going to flip him over to the right side. I know we got Tyler Smith there at left guard, but flipping him over to the right side, I think is nothing to get too concerned with. Indianapolis Colts. We went Colston Loveland. What do we want to do here for the Indianapolis Colts? That's actually a great question. Could still go with edge. Could also get him one more cornerback. Linebacker's kind of fun. This is a tough team to draft for because you look at the roster and, man, it's pretty solid. Honestly, guard here again could have been an option. Yeah, for Lou Anarumo, man, I still think they can get a little bit better there. In the secondary, Chavon Ravel is a really interesting prospect. I'm going to go Chavon Ravel here. Size, speed, freak, ball skills for days. I think they're willing to take a shot on him. Also think Maxwell Harrison could be a really fun addition to that defense as well. All right, Atlanta Falcons. Demetrius Knight's kind of a fun player to add into the mix there. But I'm going to go Princely Uman-Mielen. Go get them that edge. Uman-Mielen may not be the world's greatest run defender at the next level, but, man, as a pass rusher, I still think there's a lot of burst at the line of scrimmage. He's got some nice flexibility, good natural bend. I think that could be the guy who gets you that 8 to 10 sack mark, even as a rookie, honestly, for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, Arizona Cardinals. That's right. We went Josh Simmons. I do think defensive line could be an interesting spot here, but this might have to be Demetrius Knight or a Carson Schwessinger type of spot. Just double-checking their linebacker room. Bringing in Akeem Davis Gaither, Mac Wilson. I don't think there's anything to really write home about. Owen Papo, still haven't seen him get on the field. I'm going to go Demetrius Knight here. I think that could be an improvement there to the middle of that Jonathan Gannon defense. Miami Dolphins, we went Armand Membu. I'd love to get this team an interior defensive lineman, but I just don't know if this is the right spot to go draft one. I mean, it's a good group, but I think you wait one more round. Corner is the other place where I definitely think this team could get a whole lot better. So maybe this is a Maxwell Hairston spot. Darian Porter could be a fun add too. Azaria Thomas, low moving cost. Shout out to the NFL Stock Exchange. I'm going to go with Maxwell Hairston, give him some reinforcements because it's kind of Jalen Ramsey and not a whole lot else there in that secondary for Miami. Could also go safety there. Cincinnati Bengals, they're next up here at pick number 49. So we went Kenneth Grant in the first round. Could go get him a safety. Obviously, the Al Golden connection is live there with Xavier Watts. Do we want to do that? Geno Stone was kind of a disappointment last year. Yeah, let's go with Xavier Watts. Go get him a playmaker and a ball hawk at the top of that defense. Seattle. So we've already gone receiver. Let's look at the interior offensive line. I definitely think that's a spot where they could certainly get better. We might go Jared Wilson with the next pick, but you could also probably wait a little bit longer for that. Ooh, or Donovan Jackson. Yeah, I think Donovan Jackson's actually a great scheme fit. Also some flexibility there at left tackle if push comes to shove. Denver Broncos, this is where I'm going to go Alfred Collins. I do like Alfred Collins as a second-round guy. To me, this is plug and play. If John Franklin Myers continues to be upset with Denver, they decide to move on, Alfred Collins is the guy to step in for JFM. Back to the Seahawks. So we just got that interior offensive line reinforcements. I do think edge is another spot where this team could use an upgrade. I kind of like linebacker still, but I know a lot of Seahawks fans are tired of me saying that. Ooh, Jared Ivey. Could Jared Ivey be the edge for this team? Let's see. Do they have that kind of power rusher off the edge? They did just bring in DeMarcus Lawrence, so complicates things a little bit. You know what? I'm just going to fall back on something that I continue to love to do with this team. I'm going to go tight end. Mason Taylor's had a great pro day. Let's go Mason Taylor there at pick number 52. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we went Jahad Campbell. I still think this team could go edge. So in a lot of ways, I almost wish I kind of saved linebacker for this team just a little bit longer. Ooh, Jared Ivey, though. Again, going back to Ivey, that could be the guy to complement someone like a Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, a Hassan Reddick. Yeah, I kind of like. Yeah, I think I'm going to go, and Chris Braswell too. I don't think Braswell, Ivy are the same players. I'm going to go with Jared Ivey there. That's a fun fit for that Tampa Bay defense. All right, Green Bay. I know a lot of Packers fans hate when I go offensive tackle in the first round. I've done that the last couple of mocks, but now we get here at 44, Alec Ayumanor or Jack Bash. I'm going to go Bash just because Ayumanor does have a little bit of drop issues. And to me, like if you're going to get rid of Christian Watson, I don't want a guy who, yes, size, speed, freak, he kind of does check that box, but also the drop issues. I don't want to have the same problem there. So reliability, that's the word that immediately comes to mind with a guy like Jack Bash. So that's going to be the pick there at pick number 54. Chargers back on the clock. We went Tyleik Williams just a little bit ago. Man, does this have to be Alec Ayumanor? I think it kind of does. We go Alec Ayumanor, outside, X-receiver, field stretcher, and also just a more well-rounded receiver than a Quentin Johnson. So Ayumanor on the outside, Ladd McConkey working inside and out as the Z. Sign me up for the Z and slide, that is. Sign me up for that. Buffalo Bills. We gave them James Pierce. I would have loved if Tyleik Williams could have made it here. You could go CJ West. To me, that's a little rich. And also, like, even if you don't get, him here, Jordan Phillips in the third round is a great run stopper for them. Jamari Caldwell could be that run stopping guy. I know a lot of Bills fans did not like me going Kevin Winston Jr., but dude, he is just a fantastic scheme fit. As is Darian Porter, though. So I'm going to go Darian Porter. I think this team can get some reinforcements there in the secondary. Great natural ball skills. Yeah, and that zone-heavy defense plus his size, sign me up for that. Carolina Panthers, you're next up here at 57. I'll take a quick peek at receiver, but honestly, I don't necessarily love the guys there unless you're trying to find, is Jalen Noel is he your Adam Thielen replacement? Maybe, but I'm not sweating that too much. Defensive back, you could go get this team another corner. Carolina Panthers, what do we want to do here? I don't hate corner. And honestly, Benjamin Morrison, this team might have the appetite to go take that risk. Yeah, after thinking about it a little bit more, I don't think Mike Jackson stops you from taking a corner. Just comes down to you on Azareye'h Thomas. Ultimately, his pro day 40 was not great to me. I'm willing to take a risk here on Benjamin Morrison. And if he comes back healthy, 2 hip injuries for a guy that plays the way he does, that's a little concerning. But if he's healthy, I don't know, big if here. And JC Horn's healthy, again, if. That's a nasty man coverage tandem there. And I think you can get away with a lot of stuff there if you're the Carolina Panthers. Houston Texans here at 58. Again, I'd love to give this team interior defensive line, but ultimately I think interior offensive line is going to be the way we have to go. You could also go Ariante Ursary and make him your left tackle in the waiting. Jonah Seven-Iea, Wyatt Milam, both those guys also really do fit with their needs on the interior offensive line. Titus Howard's going to play at left guard. You could also go Seven-Iea and potentially play him at right tackle. So I'm going to go Jonah Seven-Iea, a guy I've been pretty high on throughout this entire cycle there. So I'm a big fan of Big Jonah S there. That is. Baltimore Ravens with Malachi Starks. That's right. I do think edge is in play. This is another team that honestly, you know what? Let's go guard. I think this could be your Wyatt Milam spot. And I also do like Tate Ratledge just for those wondering. Ooh, or Ariante Ursary, injury insurance there, potentially for Ronnie Stanley. That's tempting. I also think this is a sneaky team for Donovan Jackson in the first round. I totally think they could take Donovan Jackson if Malachi Starks is not on the board there. Yeah, I'm going to go Wyatt Milam. He's got experience in zone, gap, good mover. I think him next to Tyler Linderbaum is actually a lot of fun. Couple of country strong guys right there. Detroit Lions here at 60. This is a team that also would really appreciate Jonah Seven-Iea or Wyatt Milam coming back and falling in their lap. I almost wonder if they're just not going to let edge be what cost them. And I know I've done this in a handful of mocks, but just doubling up. Oh, Jordan Birch. I got to get Birch in more second rounds. I'm going to go Jordan Birch, heavy set edge guy. And that's the other thing. Mike Green, shorter arms. Aiden Hutchinson, shorter arms. I almost wonder if Jordan Birch is that athletic edge setter, run defender type that you could rotate in with those guys. All right, next up, Washington Commanders. Michael Williams. We got him a couple of, 2-down guys there. Let me take a quick peek. I do like corner for this team, but let me take a quick peek. Caleb Johnson with Brian Robinson Jr. That could be a lot of fun, man. That could be a whole lot of fun. Screw it. Let's go Caleb Johnson. I do think corner's definitely a position of need for this team. Don't get me wrong. But Caleb Johnson and Brian Robinson Jr., that could be an awesome 1-2 punch. Now we're back to the Buffalo Bills. Sorry, Bills fans. I know you don't like it, but dude, as I look at this safety room in Buffalo, And I mean, Kevin Winston Jr. is player number 50 on my board, so I think you're getting good value here, just in my opinion. But Taylor Rapp, solid player. Damar Hamlin's a 1-year contract. If you're telling me Cole Bishop plus Kevin Winston Jr. is your safety tandem of the future, two guys who are awesome athletes, have plenty of speed over the top, but also Kevin Winston Jr. might be the best tackler in this class, and that was an underrated aspect of Cole Bishop in my mind. So I'm going to go Kevin Winston Jr. I think him and Bishop could basically be your long-term Hyde and Poyer for years to come. So I like that fit a ton. Kansas City Chiefs, we went Walter Nolan, right? Yep, yes, we did. At this spot, the value is too good for Ariante Ursary. Whether it's left tackle, whether it's Jalen Moore eventually moving over to the right tackle spot, I think tackle is a position of need. So Ariante Ursary, and I do think he comes a little bit more move-in ready than guys like Kingsley Suamataia and Wanya Morris, who they've drafted in the last couple of drafts. Last pick here in this 2-round mock draft, Philadelphia Eagles, man. Landon Jackson kind of fits their type. JTT. I feel like I got to go Cameron Williams, though, just because that is like the ultimate Howie Roseman kind of fit. Draft that guy, let him be the Lane Johnson replacement. And the fact of the matter is, like, Cameron Williams has first-round talent. He's just not there yet. So I'm going to go Cameron Williams, let him draft and stash by the Philadelphia Eagles, and let him be that Lane Johnson replacement in the coming years. So let's roll through this mock draft here. Let me move myself out of the way. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through all of these picks. Really do appreciate Thor Nystorm coming on and collabing with me for that first round mock. It's always great to get another person's insight, especially, Gray's able to Rams, which is not a pick I'm going to often do. So I appreciate hearing his thought process and what he wants to do in these picks. And then hopefully you guys enjoyed the second round continuation. I know everyone loves to see a little bit of what day 2 looks like. I thought about doing a 3-rounder, but I'm ultimately pretty busy. I need to get this out sooner rather than later. But the good news, I think next Friday, I'm going to have a 3-round mock coming out for y'all. So if y'all were itching for 32, actually more than 32 more picks, 36 more picks. Yeah, 36 more picks. Don't worry. I got you coming out next week with a 3-round mock draft. At least that is the plan for right now. So let me know your thoughts on this mock draft down below in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube, and a reply back to this post on X, or you can shoot me a DM on X. Again, my ad is @TJ spelled WENGERT. TJ's self-explanatory. So let me know your thoughts on this mock draft. Who's your favorite team, and what do you think of the haul that we gave your squad? Again, a huge thank you to Thor Nystorm for coming on and joining the show. Now we have one more guy we could say as a friend of the pod. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe if you're new to the YouTube channel as well. We are really close to that 1,000 subscriber threshold, and I want to say thank you to everyone who has hit the subscribe button. It's been awesome to see the channel kind of start over from new. I'm coming over from my personal channel where we had almost 5,000 subscribers. So, but once I came over to 32 Beat Writers, that was part of why they brought me on, because I have experience kind of growing these channels, and you guys have made this way easier than it was on my side. So I really do appreciate everyone who has subscribed to the channel and helping us get closer and closer to that 1,000 subscriber threshold. And I think this is going to be the mock that gets us up and over. Thank you all again for watching this deep in the video. I really do appreciate it, but I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, my name is TJ Wingert for 32 Beat Writers. We are signing off.